What's up, everyone? I'm Doug Kyed. Welcome to Pat's Chat. I'm joined here by the one and only Michael F. Hurley. Michael, how are you doing on this Monday night, first day of the open tampering period? Did you do any tampering today?
I tamper regularly,
hmm
especially on Mondays. That's a big tampering day for me. So for me, it was just another day, but for the NFL, it was a rather, I wouldn't even say, Doug, free agency kind of sucks this year. I don't know. Like I've made that point in several places. I don't know if I've really stressed it here, but like not really one of those years, not an oh my God, holy crap kind of year. So whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Allen just signed a contract for like
Mm.
$15 million a year. I
Yeah.
think that's a pretty good sign of where we are right now. But okay, I wanted to start off with this
All
because the
right, go
Patriots
ahead.
did do some stuff, and we'll talk about it in a second. It's nothing's like that insane, but I tweeted about this, and you put something similar in our show notes. So I want to get right to it. Okay, so Aaron Rodgers hasn't gone to the Jets yet. We're still waiting for that because like, why? How could he possibly make a decision by Monday at noon? That would be impossible. It's only been like 2 months since he played football, but
Typical media. You didn't ask him about it. You're just assuming that he doesn't know. Just typical media.
that's fair. But if Aaron Rodgers does go to the Jets, which it would be very funny at this point if he didn't, because I don't know who the
Mm.
hell the Jets would sign at quarterback. But if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, I tweeted this, then what is the Patriots' goal this season? And what is an attainable way of achieving that goal with three seemingly more talented teams ahead of them in the division? I think the Jets would be maybe not like in the Super Bowl favorite category, but they would be pretty close to the Bills. Bills are still one of the best teams in the AFC. And the Dolphins were better than the Patriots last year. I don't know what the hell is going to happen with Tua Tagovailoa. I can certainly see a possibility where the Patriots finish above the Dolphins next season. But I think that you're almost certainly looking at the Patriots as being like a bottom two team in their own division. So what are they trying to do? Because Robert Kraft wants to win football games, but they don't really have a roster that's going to allow them to win enough football games for it to matter.
Well, you mentioned Robert Kraft at the end there, and that's what my thought is because I don't know when it was a year ago, but prior to that, at the owners' meeting, is when he sat. I believe it was to Phil Perry, the handsome professional Phil Perry, talked to Mr. Kraft separately from the group, and that's when Kraft did the we hope to get back to competing for Super Bowls, and it could happen as soon as this year. And I remember writing last year around April, after the draft, after free agency, saying it doesn't feel like they're back to competing for Super Bowls. Been wrong before, maybe we're wrong this time, but at a certain point, you have to stop saying that and just look at it for what it is. And
Yeah.
this is not a reaction to today because I don't think there were any moves today that could
No.
have pushed the Patriots to contention. But that's the point. If the mandate or desire or directive from ownership is to reach a certain level of competitiveness in the league, they're just not there. And the road getting there seems cloudy, I would say, at best.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what they would have had to do this offseason to get to that point because we don't know if they have the quarterback for it. I don't want this to be like this crazy negative episode, even though that's what I'm starting off with. But like,
Well, no, because this is a day where you're supposed to be like, okay,
right.
the new year has begun, the moves have been made toward it, and you start thinking, well, okay, yeah, they didn't really do a whole lot with outside free agents, but what could they have done, and what would have satisfied that itch? I'm not sure there's a roadmap.
If they had traded for Jalen Ramsey and if they had traded for DeAndre Hopkins and if they had like filled in the need at offensive tackle, like I don't know where they like if you go through I went through the Dolphins roster today and like and this is I'm not saying that I'm like breaking new ground by doing this or anything. But the Dolphins have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Teron Armstead, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Javon Holland, Xavier Howard, and Jalen Ramsey. And they've got a better quarterback than Mac Jones when Tua Tagovailoa is healthy. That's just a lot of talented players on one team, and that's a lot of players that are more talented than who are on the Patriots right now.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't think they like lack for depth either. Like David Long was a good signing by them today. I don't know. And that's the Dolphins. Like the Dolphins are probably the third best team if Aaron Rodgers signs with the Jets. or
I guess
get
part of
traded
it
to the Jets.
is maybe we just don't know how to cover a mediocre team, because we covered a team that was always like one or two guys away from going 14-2 for a very long time. That were maybe it's us, maybe it's an us problem, but I don't think so, because we are pretty cool and smart. I think it feels, I don't know, I don't want to say hopeless, but you look at the division and the Jets. I've been on this big. They were 7-10. If Rodgers goes there, they're going to win double digits,
Right.
minimum. I think you get one good year out of Rodgers before it all goes to hell.
Yes.
For a variety of reasons, but he probably retires. He's going to turn 40 in December. Guys outside of Tom Brady don't really play that well at that age. So I'm just going to say I believe in Aaron Rodgers for 1 year. It's not a long-term fix in New York, but I think clearly it's Buffalo and the Jets at the top of the division. If that happens, which will probably happen as soon as we stop recording, and then it's the Patriots and Dolphins to duke it out for third place. And it's just not, I don't see it progressing to where Robert Kraft wants it to. And I'm not sure that there's much they can do. There's still a draft. There's still free agency. There's a long way to go, but I don't know. It seems like you would get laughed out of a room if you started talking about the Patriots building a contender.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And yeah, I don't know what you do. I don't know if you just tear it down to the studs and release everyone, because I've mentioned this on the show before, like there's a lot of guys you could release on this team, but they didn't do it. Like if they really want to just tank this season and free up as much cap room as possible and carry it over to next year, like I think that, yeah, you have Jalen Mills out of here. You'd have Devontae Parker out of here. You'd have Kendrick Bourne out of here. You'd have Trent Brown. You'd have Hunter Henry. Like all these guys were releasable. But clearly the Patriots believe in them enough to think that they can do something for them this year, because they're keeping all of them on the roster. They didn't keep Jonnu Smith on the roster. We'll get into that in a second. But I don't know. But that's not what Robert Kraft wants to do. I doubt that's what Bill Belichick wants to do. I think they just have this never-ending desire to keep being competitive. But they're only going to be so competitive with the team that they currently have, which is just, I don't know. I think that's, you have to be realistic in this situation. And I did pose that question on Twitter of what is their goal this season and what is an attainable way to achieve that goal. And I got a lot of responses that were just like, oh, I think their goal is to win games, or I think their goal is to win Super Bowls. And it's like, well, what about the second part of that question? What is the attainable way to achieve that goal? Because if you keep this roster in place, you're going to win 8 games again. It's just, that's what's going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, there's wins on the schedule, and we've learned that the bottom for a Bill Belichick coach team is still mediocre. It's still 2020 when they won, 7 games?
Something like that, yeah.
I don't think it can get worse than that. That was a year that we don't need to relive.
Right.
So it's never going to get 2-15, 3-14. See how good I am at adding to 17. I could do it again, 4-13.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Throw a tie in there.
I scared myself on that. What just happened? But it doesn't seem like they're in striking distance of that upper class. And it's not like a sudden revelation. It just maybe sets in when a day like this happens and teams are going for it. Teams are seeing where they're at and trying to climb. And we can't sit here and be like, the Patriots should have done this. The Patriots should have.
Because I don't think they should have. I don't think they would have done anything. I don't know. Yeah. So let's talk about what they did do. Because, like I said, I want this to be this like crazy negative show. So they re-signed Jonathan Jones to a 2-year deal worth $19 million. I thought it was a good deal for the Patriots. Only 2 years. And then they also traded Jonnu Smith, which, hand up, I did not see coming, because I did not think that there was a single human being on earth who would trade for Jonnu Smith. So
forgot Mr. Smith.
Credit to the Patriots. Credit to Arthur Blank and Mr. Smith for trading for Jonnu Smith. I think it was Jeff Howe or someone said that the Falcons were going to try to restructure Jonnu Smith's contract. I'd love to know what would incentivize him to do that at this point. You just acquired me in a trade. What are you going to do? Cut me? I mean, I guess it was only a 7th round pick, so they could, but yeah, that's where we want to start. The Jonnu Smith trade. They opened up $4 million in cap space. Good trade for the Patriots.
Okay, here's my thought on that. And obviously Jonnu Smith didn't work out here and whatever. It's got to be tough. Forget the circumstances, forget whatever. If a team looks at you and says, we could either have you and was it a $16 million cap hit, I assume, if he was on the team, or we could have not you and a $12 million cap hit, and the team being like,
and a 7th-round pick.
The team's being like, ooh, the latter sounds pretty nice. So I think it's a failure. And on the first day of free agency, it's relevant because he was their first big signing the year that they went all in on spending. And what did that get them?
Nothing.
Ass years of play, with all due respect. I don't know how much of it, you could dole out the blame. You had a McDaniels year, you had a rookie quarterback year, you had a Patricia year, you had just a mess of a situation. But I'd say it was sort of, he didn't work here, they didn't work for him. And the end result was 2 wasted years for him, 2 kind of wasted years for the Patriots. And I don't know. I get that clearing up $4 million of cap space is good, but you're still taking on a pretty hefty cap hit for a guy that was supposed to be a pretty important player for you.
They paid him like almost $30 million for what he did here, which was like
a guy who had
catches, 500 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah, 1 touchdown in 2 years after catching 8 the year before free agency. And it's crazy because Bill Belichick talked him up before he was on the team, saying he was probably the best after catch guy in the league. And then they never let him be an after catch guy. It was that week 3 game in 2021. He had like 4 drops, one of which was picked. It was a tough game against the Saints. They won, and he never got that many targets again. He had 6 targets in his 3rd game as the Patriot, and he averaged like 50 yards in his first 2 games. He was a part of the offense, had a bunch of drops in week 3, and never saw that action again. And it's like, man, I get it, but if his whole deal is in open space, can't you scheme like 3 to 4 plays a week where he's running a shallow crosser and catches it in stride and give him a chance in the open field? Yikes.
I mean, one of the weirdest things about that, and I made the joke before of like, what if they just offered contracts to 2 tight ends and they both ducked them and they were like, whoops, they didn't use 2 tight ends in 2021.
Right.
Like they almost never did. After they made those signings,
Doug,
I
real quick,
wrote a piece about
we established last pocket. They never have done 2 tight ends. And when Gronk was really good in 2010, it was just
he was the only one. There was no other tight end.
Exactly.
But like I ran the numbers after that year, and it was like a minuscule percentage of plays that they ran in 12 personnel, and they actually did it more last season. But like, you are paying so much money to 2 tight ends, and you're not even going to put them on the field together. Like you're going to split their roles. It just doesn't make a lick of sense.
Yeah. Can I give you his target numbers? Because I think it says a lot.
Yeah.
So his first 4 games, 5-5, 6-5. Pretty targeted, I would say. After that, this is 2021. 2-2, 5, 2-2, inactive, 2-4, 1-3, 0-1-0. And the playoff game was 0. And then this past year, 4-3-4, 0, inactive, 2-3-4-3-4, 0, 2-2-3-4, inactive. It's just, I don't think he did anything to warrant more looks, I guess. So I'm not killing them for that, but I don't understand that usage of a guy that you're paying that much money to who has some skills. Granted, one of them this year was when he switched the ball to his inside hand and fumbled. Maybe that was not what you want to do when you're not getting many looks. That
skill. I don't know what it is,
could you do it? I don't think so. Do most NFL players do it? No, but that probably didn't help. I'm not advocating that he should have been used more, but it's just kind of a failure all around.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that like that's a point to what I'm saying about the Patriots next season. It's like they tried to spend big in free agency, and what did it really get them? Like,
and you did it in a year like this, where it's like, okay, do you want to break the bank on guys that aren't elite?
Right. Like, am I crazy? I guess, yeah, Judon was the best
a good
signing that they made.
But like Aguilar stands out. It's like you paid him because he was there.
Right. And you paid him a lot because he was there. And like,
yes.
Like even Kendrick Bourne after year 1 didn't really do anything. I know that they signed Devon Godshaw to like this massive contract extension, but I don't know. He's been fine. Jalen Mills missed like half the season last year.
I was told Devon Godshaw is one of the best defensive linemen in the league. So,
pretty smart person said that too, but I don't know. Hasn't
That's what I was
truly
told.
felt that way. So yeah, The other thing that happened was that the Patriots re-signed Jonathan Jones and they re-signed Carl Davis. Is there anything crazy that I'm forgetting? That's pretty much all they did, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, Devin McCourty has retired since our last podcast.
Oh yeah, Devin McCourty retired too. My cat is like harassing me, and you can't see it because it's
cat chat.
blurry. But he wants to get on the mic. Wants to spit a few bars. I think that Jonathan Jones re-signing, like depending on what the Patriots are even trying to do this year, is kind of important because I think it allows them to be flexible in the other defensive backs that they bring in. It would allow them to, like, if they think that he can play slot, or if they're going to move him back to the slot, like sign an outside cornerback if that's the best value. If they want him to play outside, sign the best slot cornerback if that's the best value. If they want to move him to safety, sign the best slot or outside. I think it allows them
you say
to just find the best value.
What's the best value for him? Because I could make the case that it's slot corner, but they also might have a slot corner.
Right. I want him playing free safety. I don't like. So there are free safeties available this year. There's Jordan Poyer. He might be gone by the time that you hear this.
Well,
there's
another one. Jesse Bates was supposed to be like their target, and then
but that like
one of the richest deals of all time. It's like
$16 million. I was always like, yeah, sure, let's put his name out there, but it was never going to happen.
Yeah.
But there's Jordan Poyer, there's Juan Thornhill, there's Julian Love, who I think might have actually liked Joe Judge potentially in New York.
I don't know. There's your guy too. You can't go a podcast without, you can't go a podcast.
Oh, and if they don't sign Duron Harmon, I'm going to be furious.
I'm out on Duron Harmon. Like you gotta, you just McCourty's gone. It's like you're in a new era. Like stop. But it'll be a big day for you. I understand.
I my point, other than Duron Harmon, I would trust Duron Harmon with my life. But all those other guys, like, there's no guarantee it's going to work for them to play in the Patriots defense. Like everything that Devin McCourty did back there of like knowing the defense, knowing the communication, knowing the signals, like being a team leader, all those different types of things. So you're just going to sign some guy off the street and be like, hey, be Devin McCourty? That sounds like kind of wild to me. And I know that if Jonathan Jones did it, it would require him to change positions. But I still just feel like his knowledge of the defense, his experience with, Gerard Mayo and Steve Belichick and all the defensive back coach and everything like that, I think I just have more faith that it would work with him than it would by just bringing in this outside body. I don't know.
Yeah, I buy that. I don't think he's great as an outside corner anyway.
Right.
Like he's good enough until you face
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, go on down the line, which I've said this before. Most cornerbacks aren't able to cover those guys, but they can do a slightly better job. Maybe I just don't think
he's pretty
he's
small for an outside cornerback. I don't love a small outside cornerback.
It's not a great job for him. He handled it well. He handled that better than Matt Patricia handled being an offensive play caller. It's not a total mismatch, but I don't think that's his best role in the team. So I could buy that safety usage of him, but when again, the cornerback market I thought stunk just as much or stinks just as much as the receiver market, where Jamel Dean is your top guy, and he ended up getting $50 million from Tampa, which so what was it, 4 years, 50 something? So he's
I don't
making
mind James
more.
Bradbury if they trade for Darius Slay. I wouldn't hate that, but once again, like I don't know what the goal is this season.
Well, can we that's not a new thing. I don't know what the goal is, because let's do it quickly because we're doing history. But 2020, Tom Brady's like, all right, see ya. And you're like, oh, we got Stidham and we got Hoyer back, so that's good. And tight end, whatever, it's fine. But we should franchise Joe Thuney. We should definitely franchise our guard and lock up whatever, like $17 million on our guard. Just make sure we have that good guard play this year. It didn't work out. Okay, next year we should trade a guard, draft a guard. A lot of focus on the guard. Not a lot of focus on maybe, I don't know, losing J.C. Jackson you're okay with, but not really replacing him reasonably. Hiring the offensive coordinator of Matt Patricia. Like, there's a lot of what is their plan? Yeah. And you don't want them to bring it back the next year, right? If it doesn't work, you fail. And it fails, you got to change it. But how do you believe so much in your philosophy one year and then have a completely different one the next year? It's like playing catch up. It's like a cat chasing a laser. There's no dedicated philosophy. It's hard to tell what the Patriots want to do each year, which we used to know for 15, 20 years.
Yeah, it is. I was confused, just as confused as you still are at the time about the Joe Thuney franchise tag. Like,
Gotta franchise him. You gotta franchise.
no one, I mean, I can tell you, at the combine, no one saw that coming that year. Like, it was like, no, he's gone. Like, they're not going to do it. And, like, from what I heard, their offers to Joe Thuney were like bad offers for a long-term contract. To the point where, like, Joe Thuney did not think he was going to be coming back. And then, like, at the, what is it, the 15th hour, 16th hour? What's that phrase? 11th hour?
11th hour.
They were like, all right, we're going to franchise him. And it's like, what? Why? What? Where did that come from? And then he wound up being like the highest paid guard in the history of the NFL because he had a great season. And I don't know. Maybe they thought they would be competitive. Maybe they convinced themselves that they would get Cam Newton. That they would win a Super Bowl.
They didn't even have a quarterback.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't even have a quarterback. Speaking of the franchise tag, just to reiterate, Jonathan Jones signed for what, 219? You said so.
Yeah.
10 this year, 9 next year. He won't be getting 18 million this year with a franchise tag, which we talked about last time, which was big news.
It's 18 million over 2 years.
It's like half. I mean, but it's yeah. So the report from last week remains humorous to me.
I did the Off the Pike podcast with Brian Barrett for The Ringer this weekend, and
sick brag.
I thought he made a very good point if we're looking at optimism right now, but it's also kind of bad. So next offseason, the Patriots actually have 2 players who might be worthy of the franchise tag who will be hitting free agency in Kyle Duggar and Josh Uche. Now, I don't know if I would slap a franchise tag on Kyle Duggar at this point. If I'm being completely honest, completely transparent, I think Kyle Duggar is a little bit overrated.
Oh.
But
I don't. Well, you got to consider too, that's the cheapest franchise tag
it is
on the books.
I think that
outside of punters,
people talk about Kyle Duggar like he's one of the best safeties in the NFL.
Okay.
And I don't think that's the case. But Josh Uche, if Josh Uche has another like double-digit sack season, then I think that you might look at the franchise tag for him. But I do think that those are 2 young players the Patriots got in the draft that ideally you would like to sign to long-term contracts, which it's better than it's been in the past for the Patriots. The past few years, there hasn't been a lot of those guys, right?
I guess if that's the goal, it's a meager goal to have a couple guys that are good enough to pay a lot of money to
want in the future.
Yeah,
Michael Onwenu too.
Yeah, he's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him, he doesn't play tackle anymore because there'd be a lot of money there. But that's another news. The Patriots tried to, according to Giardi, tried to sign the Eagles tackle who went to
Andre Dillard.
Yeah, he went somewhere else that I can't think of.
Yeah, he did. You're absolutely right about that. He did go
somewhere I'm going
to
tell you where he went. He went to the Tennessee Titans for 3 years, $29 million, which is a fair deal for a tackle, not top of the market by any means. And
wait, it was
I don't
3
know
years.
What they're offering. 29.
You know what? I think I would have hated that if the Patriots did that.
Because it's kind of like
he hasn't started for 2 years.
It's like in between investing and not investing.
Right, like he might be good. Like, yeah, they've got great tackles in Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata in Philly, but like Jordan Mailata was like a rugby player who never played football, who passed over Andre Dillard, who was a first-round pick for the starting job. I don't know. Andre Dillard might be a starting caliber tackle in the future, but he certainly hasn't been up to this point.
It's like you had Isaiah Wynn, and you still could.
Right.
Who was also a first-round pick.
Did you see what he tweeted? He tweeted he's free.
Yeah, what's that going on? Like, and then he was getting real, like, he was insulting my finances, which I find to be uncouth. at the
Wait,
very least.
are you
for
saying
anyone,
you don't have $5 million?
I don't. So
Yeah.
Isaiah Wynn does free with like a namaste
Yep.
emoji, and then says you got to be up at least 5 million for me to even converse with you. Grab about 8 generations worth of y'all's entire life savings, then we can possibly wrap. Possibly, and it's like, damn, like I didn't say anything to you, Isaiah Wynn, but maybe I did on Pat's chat, which is in the public realm. So it's you never know who's listening to Pat's chat. Speaking of which,
Well,
rate, subscribe, and
hold on.
review.
Yes,
subscribe, and review.
subscribe, review.
I want to say thank you to
Maybe
everyone
not
who
Isaiah
has.
Wynn.
No,
Maybe, if you're Isaiah Wynn, maybe
5
don't.
stars, right? Whatever you want, but we haven't
Right.
gotten a review on Apple since late January. So
yeah,
if someone
it's true.
wants to
Break the streak.
refill the pool,
Yeah.
much appreciated. Pretend you're Isaiah Wynn. Have some fun with it. Actually, can you?
Well,
argue-
I'm going to defend
Identity
Isaiah Wynn
theft
for a
is real.
second. I'm gonna defend him. I don't think that you can defend that second tweet. It's just like kind of a lame thing to say. I'm not even sure if you can defend the whole like free thing. But if there's someone on the Patriots 2022 roster who has the right to be pissed off over what happened last year, I would argue it was Isaiah Wynn, who had to be coached by Matt Patricia and who for no reason was switched from left tackle to right tackle. I don't know if you can think of a reason for that. Like, and Trent Brown wasn't that great at left tackle either. Isaiah Wynn's career was going maybe not swimmingly, but fine as a left tackle. He moves to right tackle and gets coached by a guy who's never coached offensive line before. And I'm like, his finances cratered after last year. So I don't know if he needs to handle it this way, but if anyone on that team last year can tweet free, maybe it's him.
I guess. I guess if it was just free, we wouldn't be talking about it though. It was really the follow up, but
That you took a personal affront to.
he made it personal. I'm working on 1 mil. When we get there, we can maybe reconvene. Maybe we can wrap. But it didn't, and you couldn't reply. It was only people that follow like him or whatever can reply, or that he follows. Yeah. So a lot of quote tweets. Fans not happy.
Carl Davis, big. That was something the Patriots needed to do right off the bat. They need to get Raekwon McMillan. They need to get Carl Davis. And they released Jake Bailey. We haven't talked about that.
Right. Which, man, what an interesting situation where the suspension like voided some guaranteed money. Am I not right?
Yeah, wow, amazing. Imagine that happening. That's so weird that those things coincided.
I really hope some details like the NFLPA pushes, because I'd love to know if they were like at 4:59 p.m. we're like, Jake, you need to be here at 5 p.m. today for your treatment. And he's like, I live a half hour away. Like, this is unacceptable. And they suspended him for missing it. Like, how does that? I'd really love to know the details. Obviously, that's not what happened, but they disagree. The Bailey camp disagrees. I would assume if a lot of money was lost based on this suspension when he was injured. So just real weird. And, it's the punter. Like, I'm not blaming him because I don't know what happened. But, like, your role as a punter is to show up, don't talk to anyone.
Right.
Punt well, which he didn't do, and then go home. So somewhere along the line, something happened.
Well, like,
it sounded like I blamed him.
I don't know what would have happened to Jake Bailey if he didn't have that Pro Bowl season in 2020, but it really kind of messed things up for him and the Patriots and everything, because, like, his salary in 2021 or 2, whatever it was, like, jumped so high because of that Pro Bowl
All-Pro
rookie All-Pro incentive, whatever it is, that's like built into these contracts, that the Patriots like were so far up against the cap last year that they essentially had to sign him to this crazy extension. And then that was after he wasn't great in 2021. And then he was basically the worst punter in the NFL last season. So I don't like, does someone pick up Jake Bailey? Does Jake Bailey even want to play football anymore? What happens to Jake Bailey from here on out?
Yeah, I would assume because he's young and has an All-Pro within 4 years, we'll get a look, but it'll probably be on the tryout basis. It doesn't seem like a guarantee is in his future. So that's why, like, whatever dispute might be happening with money is probably going to be seen out. And let's not forget the Patriots. The Patriots traded to move up 4 spots to select Jake Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? Who cares? They gave away 246, but like
Right.
what were they thinking the Colts, Cowboys, or Chargers were going to do? And could they have recovered had one of those teams decided to take Jake Bailey out of Stanford? I'm not sure. Just a quirk of the draft of 2019.
Was that the year that Nick Caserio was like, well, we can't use all of the late round picks?
Oh,
Like
was he?
He made some sort of. He said something about how like financially they had to like sell off some of the late round picks.
Well, you know what? Not a great year of picks overall. You wanna run through here of 2019
That was
draft?
2019.
We should put a bow on it. You start with N'Keal Harry, tough one. Joanne Williams, Chase Winovich, none of whom are on the Patriots. Damian Harris, who's a free agent, who I think the Patriots will probably re-sign for cheap for a year. Yodny Kajust, who is a tackle. He's, as Bill Belichick would say, he's shown he can play in the NFL. Hjalti Froholt was 4th round. Jared Stidham in the 4th round. Byron Cowart, Jake Bailey, and Ken Webster. So you have not a lot to show for from the 20.
Hey, one of those guys signed a contract for like $10 million today. Must have been a great.
Yeah, we could. I mean, we're not a Jared Stidham podcast, but man, it pays to be a quarterback. Like Case Keenum got money today, like real money. Like he can rap with Isaiah Wynn right now. Case Keenum can.
The Stidham thing was pretty wild.
Jimmy
2
Garoppolo
years,
can.
$10 million, I think it was.
Yeah, it's 5 guaranteed. Basically 5 this year and 4 next year if they keep him. And that's
for
a guy who has
like 1.5 good quarters last season. I don't know.
Jared Stidham has 6 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in his career. He's completed 58% of his passes. He has a passer rating of 73.5. And it's like, you kind of know what he is. I don't think
he might be
there
better
have been
than
guys.
Russell Wilson, though.
Probably not, though. Like, just real. I know that's like fun to say on Twitter, but like realistically, probably not. Probably not. But yeah, no, being quarterback, good business decision. If
Mike
you can do
White too. Like the Dolphins having Teddy Bridgewater last year, and then being like, all right, we need Mike White to be the guy if our quarterback cannot continue playing football.
Now, what did Mike White get?
He got 2 years, $8 million, but it comes with an additional up to $8 million in incentives. So max 2 years, $16 million. So like if Tua gets hurt, I don't know, like they're incentivizing Mike White to be good and for Tua to get hurt and to like be their top backup. It's essentially a 1-year deal with a team option for year 2. But I don't know, like Mike White was at times like the 3rd and 4th quarterback on the Jets within the last 2 years, you know?
Yeah. Mike White's a fella with 8 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. If we're doing the touchdown interception ratio, he was a guy for who a week looked better than Zach Wilson, which was the best thing that was really he had going for him. And it turned into money, but there is a Patriots relationship there. Mike White, famously a Western Kentucky hilltopper. Bailey Zappi, come 2025.
Oh, he's making like $30 million.
2026.
Yeah.
I get my years confused. He'll be a free agent in 2026. He'll make at least $5 million if he doesn't throw another pass.
Oh my God, yes.
It's crazy. The quarterback
Jimmy
market
Garoppolo,
is
by
crazy.
the way, kind of
24 mil.
Not that much. I was expecting a little bit more, maybe. Like when the baseline is Daniel Jones making $40 million a year.
Yeah.
Like in a vacuum, purely in a vacuum, 1 game, so you don't have to worry about injuries. You'd probably rather have Jimmy Garoppolo, right, than Daniel Jones.
Not to get too in the weeds, it would depend on the opponent. I love the way Daniel Jones just runs for 60 yards randomly, which Jimmy Garoppolo can't do. So I don't know, but it depends on the coach. It depends on things. But yeah, I mean, Jimmy's the most okay quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
He is so okay. So I have a problem with all of the quarterback salaries being what they are. It's an issue. I think I started writing a column last week before Daniel Jones got the money, and I had to delete it. Like, imagine how if you've read anything I've written, imagine how bad it has to be for me to be like, no, scrap this. But it basically started turning into me putting a salary cap on quarterbacks, which I don't want to do. I don't want to limit players from making money from
Right.
billionaires who have endless amounts of it. But I just feel like the league is skewed and warped too much when Daniel Jones is making $40 million
Yeah.
at quarterback. That when you say Jimmy's not making that much, it's like, well, it's still a lot.
Yeah.
It's for a guy that's so okay. So I don't know. I have trouble adapting to the modern times of quarterback pay.
It also, it's a somewhat broken system because like for the Patriots, even if they would prefer Jimmy Garoppolo to be their quarterback, like a rookie contract versus
Yeah.
what Jimmy Garoppolo is making, it would make zero sense. Like you would have
Six
to be,
times more.
yeah, you would have to be so convinced that he was 6 times better, whatever it is. Like,
Right.
so I don't know. I mean, for the Raiders, they had the money, I guess, and they could still draft a quarterback in the first couple rounds. But like, if I'm the Raiders, even though I'm saying like Jimmy Garoppolo's not making that much money, I don't know. Maybe just try to draft a quarterback. Like it's a better situation to be in than, or like the Saints. Like the Saints screwed themselves last year by trading a future first round pick,
Yeah.
to get Chris Olave or whoever it was, Trevor Penning. But like you're paying Derek Carr that much, $40 million, whatever it is a year. I don't know. It's
They also have a dead cap hit on Carr of $5.6 million.
right.
And is Jimmy better than Carr? He's got a
Right.
better face. I like Jimmy's face better. He's very handsome. Got a nice beard. You see his Wikipedia picture? It's like he looks like a superhero. Jimmy Garoppolo does. It's such BS. Like, just you put a helmet on him or something. I don't know.
He's Mr. Glass. That's who he is.
But yeah, it does go back to like all the talk and speculation, mostly mindless, of Mac Jones trades or whatever. It's sort of
Right.
like, well, the money is a huge factor
Yes.
that you gotta know. Like, okay, next year you can figure it out. But for something, you're gonna play because, as Bill Belichick famously said, and I mentioned earlier, he has shown he can play in the NFL.
This podcast could get dated very quickly if the Patriots do crazy things or if Jacoby Myers signs somewhere. No wide receivers have signed yet.
Yeah,
I'm sick again, by the way. I'm sick.
I could tell.
again.
I didn't want to say anything.
I'm sick. I'm sick of being sick.
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired?
Yes, it's like unbelievable. I my friggin' kids. But I was talking to someone about this. About like I asked someone who would know. I was like, hey, who are the Patriots gonna sign a wide receiver? The person was like, well, I can't tell you that. I was like, God damn it. I thought that was gonna work.
It's worth a shot.
But he did say that, like, just think about it this way. If they lose Jacoby Myers, probably sign someone who, like, can get open quickly out of the slot. If they lose Nelson Aguilar, which they're probably going to do, sign someone who's fast. So I was like, okay, I'm going to look for slot receivers who can get open. I'm going to look for fast guys. And the 3 names at slot who I found out, Richie James, I don't hate that one. I don't think he'd be that expensive, and he had some success in Brian Daboll's offense in New York. Paris Campbell, another one I wouldn't hate. Had one good season, kind of injury prone, but maybe an upside signing. And then Braxton Berrios, who everyone knows. As far as speed receivers go, DJ Chark, he signed for $10 million last year. Not sure if you can get him on much more of a discount this year. Robbie/Chosen Anderson, don't love that one, but kind of a fast guy. Kind of a Tyquan Thornton clone. And then the last one was Scotty Miller, formerly of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Man, I thought Scotty Miller was it for a minute there, a couple years ago.
Do any
Really
of those guys
faded
appeal?
out.
Do any of those guys appeal to you, or is there any other wide receiver? Because obviously they can't sign one of those guys and just have that
Yeah.
be it.
It depends on dollars. If Myers makes less than a $5 million difference than those guys you mentioned, then I'd prefer Myers. If it's
Right.
like 13 million to 8 million, I'd prefer Myers. Just 13 million for Myers still feels like a lot, but you can figure it out so that it doesn't kill you.
What if it's 15 million to 5 million?
Then I'd take the $5 million guy.
Yeah.
As much as I respect. And don't forget the draft. There's a handful of guys that look like slot receivers. They're obviously not all going to pan out,
Right.
and you do have a speed guy in Tyquan Thornton. So
You do. I did
still
think it
on
was
the team.
interesting though that this person was saying like you gotta have a speed guy to replace Nelson Aguilar. So like I
Do
guess
you?
they probably
Do you?
want 2 speed guys. I don't know.
I don't look at Nelson Aguilar as someone that needs to be replaced on the offense.
I don't
know
either.
what his
I don't
his
either,
role
but
wasn't defined. But one thing too, if we want to get into how the Patriots build, last year you might remember Matt Groh informing the media, if you want to have a fast team, then you better get fast guys.
yeah.
So, little word to the wise: if they want to be faster, they're going to have to get some fast guys.
That is very true. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I
It's a
like I
bad
said,
year
I
to need
really
receivers.
hate to be the negative Nelly on this podcast, but I'm just finding it hard to be overly optimistic about what's happening with the Patriots right now. And you would think, like to the point that you were making, like back in 2020, it didn't really seem like they had a plan. And now we're 3 years later, and unless they believe, like, if Mac Jones can become Joe Burrow this season, then they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
But there was zero signs of that last year. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys.
The lighthouse is almost done.
That is true.
I think.
Maybe the new gym's gonna be done soon too. The new
Concert season's coming.
Yep.
Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Bruce.
Yep.
So there'll be some celebration down there.
In
They're
2
going
years,
to-
you're gonna get to see Metallica.
We're closing in on the 16-month mark to that. Very excited. They're going to Germany.
Yeah, they're going to Germany.
Deutschland.
Yep.
That's a thing.
Yep.
They will probably have a Tom Brady day. Maybe. He might be in the league.
They're gonna have
what do you think,
Devin McCourty Day soon, right?
Maybe. Tom Brady talk? Tom Brady going to sign a team? Because the Niners signed Sam Darnold. So they might be out. Miami seems to be out based on Scott Zolak's digging.
Yeah,
You know what?
Did he dig?
Well, so on the radio on I don't know, Thursday, Friday,
Yeah.
Zolak literally just read what was in the news. And it became a national headline, like
Yeah,
Patriots
he was
broadcaster.
He's like Rich Eisen saying this.
Yeah, he's like, Rich Eisen said this, and Mike Florio said this, or something like that.
Yeah.
And Florio did have Zolak, Scott, Patriots broadcaster says Miami is in play for Brady. It's
Right.
he literally just read the news, and the next day he said Miami was out on Brady. So he actually was probably informed of that. Funny sports media moment today. Garrett Wilson celebrating Aaron Rodgers coming and then tweeting, I ain't going to fake it. I thought Dov bro tweet was the news break I was waiting for. Shaking my head. I don't know anything. Sorry about that. And it is an interesting thing. Do you know Dov Kleiman?
You think I know Dov Kleiman? Of course I don't know Dov Kleiman. No one knows Dov Kleiman. Dov
That's
Kleiman's
the thing.
parents don't know Dov Kleiman.
I'd love to know that story. We need someday there'll be a 30 for 30 on this man running this account. I don't know, but he gets NFL players. You know what? His picture kind of looks like Schefter's from quick glance.
For years and years and years, he had 30,000 followers. And now the new Twitter algorithm bumps up Dov Kleiman tweets. But I don't know. He might be a great guy. But in that tweet, the Aaron Rodgers tweet, Trey Wingo said the deal is done or something like that.
Yeah.
And then in Dov's tweet, he
oh my God,
he put out what Wingo said, but then he put in quotes, "It's done."
Yeah.
What is that quoting? No one said it's done. You can't quote something that someone didn't. I don't know.
Wingo just said done. He didn't say it's done.
Right. So you can't I don't know. I know that's I know that's being nitpicky about it, but you can't.
The quotation mark means something.
Quotation marks. It's done.
That tweet got 8.8 million views.
Yeah, and then there was something the other day too, and I don't mean to just crap on Dolph Kleiman or whatever it was, but about a month ago or so, Daniel Popper of The Athletic, he covers the charts.
John Popper, Blues Traveler.
Yes.
Harmonica.
He was writing about how the Chargers could free up salary cap space. And he said these are some possibilities. The most likely of these is Keenan Allen. So then Dov Kleiman says that he turns that into it's most likely that Keenan Allen will get released, without the rest of the context. And like, I know that's once again maybe sounds nitpicky, but like Daniel Popper did not say it's most likely that Keenan Allen will get cut. He said that of these players, it is most likely that it would be Keenan Allen. I don't know. You got to be careful with words in this, especially if you're like aggregating people and quoting people, because that's not what he said. And then like, I don't know. And you're mentioning that guy on Twitter, and it's a dangerous game. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, but you got to get the retweets and likes, and that's really what it's about. There's a lot of retweets and likes. So.
My guy Ari Meirov, I say this to people that I work with. Like, if you're gonna follow one of like the aggregating tweet guys, Ari is very careful about it. He's not going to be. He does not want to be wrong. I think that's his like number one fear in life. So like, follow him. The rest of them can. I don't know.
I have so many fears in life. That's not one of them. But yeah, I thought maybe you could crack the code on Dove Kleiman. We could go viral, and we could explain who he is. But I guess we got to wait for the 30 for 30 in 20 years.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I felt like more happened today than actually did, but the Aaron Rodgers thing will be. I don't even like dislike the Jets. I don't have a like. They've been bad for so long that like who could truly have an opinion about the Jets other than maybe Bill Belichick. But it would be funny if they've been waiting for Aaron Rodgers, and then he decides to retire, and then they have to sign like Marcus Mariota or something, right?
Comedy is comedy. It's not personal. You don't have to be like a Jet hating Patriots fan. Like that's funny. Like sometimes just even Jets fans would have to be like, you know what?
That's pretty funny.
That's so us, guys. That is so us. But it is annoying in the fact that if this is his Jets tenure, if it starts like this, it's already like off to a great start. I'd love to know what like I kind of believe Trey Wingo. I don't know. I haven't been following him and reporting on this, so I don't really like even have a feel for it. But I got to think he wouldn't put that out there. But I also fully believe Schefter and Rappaport, pretty good reporters, pretty plugged in to things going on when they say it's not done. So I don't know, man. That is typically weird Aaron Rodgers stuff.
Well, yeah, because I can imagine Aaron Rodgers like if Wingo is his guy. Now I can imagine him,
which I have no idea.
Right, but I can imagine him saying that to Trey Wingo, and then like him not telling the Jets, or him like,
or the Packers being like, we don't have the framework done, like to get this done.
Right, like, or I can imagine him telling like Schefter and Rappaport like, no, this isn't done, like just to like mess with them or something. I don't know. He's a weird
but they
guy.
have more sources.
They do.
Than just Aaron Rodgers.
But this is all on Aaron Rodgers. It's completely on Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Well, the framework and the trade and all that might be out of his hands.
I guess. But
you would think that there would be enough. There's been a week to figure it out. So it is kind of on Rodgers.
How can, like, I'm sorry, but maybe I'm a sucker. Maybe I'm too aware of other people's emotions or cares or thoughts. If you're in this position, if you're Aaron Rodgers, like, how can you not just decide by today? You have to. It's a requirement.
Yeah, and maybe my picture of the Jets as a real contender and, you know, neck and neck with the Bills was too rosy if he's giving that much thought to retiring, where it's what are you playing for? Because Rodgers last year was a drag to watch.
Right.
Toward like late November, early December, they had maybe a 3-4 week span where he kind of looked like himself, and people were like, "Oh, you don't want the Packers in the playoffs." For most of the year, he was just mentally and physically checked out.
Yeah,
and that was after 2 years of just basically stat humping to win the MVP, and really not much else. So I don't know that maybe there's a chance he does go to the Jets, and everything I said was wrong, and he kind of blows up, and he gets pissed at the media. And clashes with whoever in management and doesn't work out. So it's all on the table, which I think is what's great about sports. None of us really know.
It's true. All right. Well, do you have anything else that you want to talk about today?
I did. Yep. I put it in there. I don't know if you clicked and read the story about so the Syracuse radio host, I want to get his name, Brent Axe, was fired for being too negative about Syracuse sports, which isn't funny because the CEO of the station is basically just a big Syracuse fan. I didn't like the mean things he was saying. But we live in Boston, and it's just funny. Like the concept of getting fired from your sports radio job for being negative is like a laugh out loud funny proposition in the city of Boston, where like that is a prerequisite if you want to step behind a microphone. Maybe we're in the Past Chat podcast would get canceled after this episode and all the Matt Patricia episodes. So
yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's a bold new day, I guess, in broadcasting when Syracuse, who hasn't been relevant in a long time, like really relevant, probably not doing well. I'm not following the ins and outs of Syracuse. I think their football team had a decent year a couple years ago, but I don't really care. I just think it's funny that it's just like, oh, I didn't like what you said, and fans wouldn't like it either, so you're fired. It's like, oh, cool, good stuff.
I don't.
It's a journalism school, by the way. A journalism school.
It is a famous one. I don't think that college football teams should be allowed to play in domes.
Yeah.
Play in the Carrier Dome there.
Do you know the Carrier Dome was named the Carrier Dome for like 50 years, and the Carrier Corporation paid like $3,000 for the naming rights when they built it. Good deal for the Carrier Corporation, which now I'm really going. A couple years ago, it was real hot, and I just said, thank God for whoever invented the air conditioner. Like, there should be a statue of him or her in every city in the world, because what an invention that is. And it was William Carrier, if I'm not mistaken, who invented it. I've looked up how they work. I don't get it.
No, still don't understand.
One of those things, you get it, and then you walk away, and then it's gone. But William Carrier, unless he pronounced it Carrier, which I don't think he did. I don't think he's a Carrier guy. But, shout out to him. This podcast has been brought to you by Carrier.
The Carrier, good band from Revere, Massachusetts.
All right.
Boston
Not
hardcore
familiar
band.
with their work.
Late 2000s. Got some bangers. Good guys.
All right. Any other Carrier notes?
Did you watch the Oscars last night?
I did. I got all the gambling apps going with the free bets. Yeah. All free bets. I haven't, but I've won every single sports bet I've made.
Nice.
I lost all 4 Oscars bets I made, but they were all long shots. I was hoping for some long shots to hit. Did you see Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Not yet.
So I saw it.
I want to. I've wanted to for a while.
It's going to be hard now. Well, yeah. Well, it's going to be hard to watch it with an honest view now that it won every award at the freaking thing. But I don't know. It was very good in a lot of ways and very innovative and very different. But there was also some like objectively idiotic parts that were included. And it was, maybe I'm missing some of the intended humor or art to it, but it seemed literally like there were parts that a 13-year-old boy wrote and was like, that would be so funny. And they kept coming back. Like, they were pretty significant portions of the film that it's like, okay, but like Best Picture? I don't know that's Best Picture stuff. But what do I know? Because it won every single friggin' award.
When they went up to accept their directing award, the Daniels, and like they're both from Emerson, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I went to Emerson with them. And my wife said something very nice to me, and she thought that they were older than I am. But in fact, they're a year or 2 years younger than I am. So, in fact, I did go to Emerson College at the same time as them, which means, honestly, that I could have won an Oscar. Like, I could have been them.
Yeah.
I basically won an Oscar last night, is what I'm saying.
But wasn't your wife, she was saying they looked older than you?
Older than me, which means that I look younger.
You're actually older than them.
Yeah. So I look younger than I should.
Yeah, okay. I was just working through that one, yeah.
Yeah.
The Safdie brothers went to BU around that. I think they were 04 to 08-ish.
Wow.
So there were some good filmmaking geniuses in the city of Boston during the important college years of 04 to 08.
Wow, that's huge. These guys were...
evidence is mounting that those were the ideal years to be in college.
I believe these guys were 06 to 10 college guys.
They were part of the 04
to 08, exactly, which is all that really matters.
Yes.
I was not writing movies when I was at Emerson College. I was playing a decent amount of Halo and going to Pizzeria Regina.
Yeah. Well, you could have written some of this movie when you were in college. I'll tell you that much. Just smash your head into the wall a few times and come up with hot dog finger scenes, and it keeps coming back.
I also went to a lot of movies at Emerson, and this will be my last thing I'll say about the Oscars or movies for Emerson. What we would do, my friends and I, when we were at Emerson, is there would be like free previews, free screenings for movies at the Lowe's Theater in Boston
Yeah.
Common. So we would go to the free screening, but then we would sneak into other movies
Yes.
because once you get past like a threshold at that theater,
It's all open.
it's like it's free. But sometimes there's movies downstairs that you want to see because
that's tough.
it's a two-tiered level.
Big escalators.
So we found an elevator behind the snack bar, and we took the
Ooh.
elevator down. But the elevator comes out in the back of the theater. So if it goes in the
Open
back
the
of one
door.
of the theaters downstairs. So if you want to get to the other theater, you have to take the elevator down, open up the door, cause a huge scene basically in the middle of the movie where you're like coming out of nowhere, sprint down the stairs, go out the door, go into the other theater. But I don't know. When you're in college, you do desperate things to see movies.
My story about the AMC Boston Common, I went to a screening of Metallica, Some Kind of Monster, circa 2005, I want to say.
Yep.
And we were going to the screening, and there was like red carpet and bright lights and all this stuff. I'm like, is Metallica here? Like, what the hell is going on? It turned out the Bourne Supremacy or Ultimatum was having a Boston premiere that night. And as I'm walking in the theater, Matt Damon was right there getting interviewed on the red carpet. And I was like, it's Matt Damon.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's huge.
And then I watched Metallica, Some Kind of Monster in the theater next door.
Nice. That's
Interesting,
That's a good story.
interesting film. Yeah,
there's
well,
also
you know,
mice. There's like mice and rats at that theater, just so everyone knows.
It's
like
in
if you're-
Boston, so
If you're eating popcorn, don't like leave it on the ground in between bites because there's lots of mice. Seen lots
we
of
don't
mice.
know that. We don't know that for sure. Like that could be slanderous.
I've
So-
seen mice. I've literally
Say allegedly.
maybe
Say
it was like-
I allegedly saw mice.
Maybe it was 15 years ago. Okay, I previously saw mice.
Yeah, they could have cleaned it up. I mean, Boston, a lot of construction, a lot of mice and rats being strewn about. So
Yeah.
difficult environment. Anyways,
Well-
I think that just about covers it.
Yeah, that covers the Patriots.
Now that we finish, the news will come, and we'll have to do another one when that happens.
Yeah, and at that point, we'll talk about all sorts of other unrelated topics. So, all right, well, that will do it for today's episode of Pat's Chat Podcast, the Pat's Chat Podcast, a Pat's Chat Podcast. And yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon when something else happens. Bye.